Dom, take it away.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you all for taking time out of your day to be here. Today we will be discussing the importance of mental health and wellness within parenting and families in general. My name is Dominic, and today myself, Kimberly, Braden, and Jason will be leading the second half of this parent workshop series. Next slide, please. So to give you a little background on us, we are all interning with the organization Connected to Lead. The organization is a nonprofit in LA focused on youth leadership development, whose mission it is to create a safe space for all people of all ages to make meaningful connections while strengthening the leader within them. With that said, my group felt that talking about the importance of caring for your mental health and well being is very relevant given what this organization stands for. We know that it is very easy to neglect your mental health, whether it is intentional or not. But for the purpose of this workshop, um, we're acknowledging that struggle, especially as a parent, to provide support through sharing different lessons that we thought are important to know. Next slide, please. To add on, I want to make it clear that caring for your physical or mental well-being is not exclusive to any group of people. It is something everyone needs to do. It doesn't matter if you are or aren't a parent, although it is actually even better to learn how to care for yourself before you take on the responsibility of caring for someone else. I do know it isn't always fully possible to prepare for children, but having a better understanding of yourself, excuse me, having a better understanding of yourself beforehand will benefit you and your child as they grow. I know I've had personal experiences, and I'm sure you all have as well, with seeing people, such as your parents, neglect their mental health and disregard any underlying issues they may be facing, because this is something that is often taught and very hard to unlearn. But what many parents fail to realize or even refuse to acknowledge is that their problems can create more for their children and possibly lead to putting a strain on the relationship because of how much a child can be affected. Now, um, that I briefly explained our topic and its importance, let's get on to our first lesson called Taking Care of You, which it will be led by Kimberly.
I'll be talking about the importance of taking care of your mental health before helping others. It's important to make your mental health a priority for many reasons, especially for supporting and caring for your kids and family. It's important for parents to understand not only their children's mental health issue, but their own mental health challenges, behaviors, and habits. You will benefit from learning how to take care of yourself if you put your mental health first. First and foremost, your surroundings at home greatly influence your emotional health. A parent who is less stressed, and emotionally available will create a more stable and caring environment. In the end, this helps build family bonds by encouraging healthy communication, by giving kids the freedom to express themselves and feel heard. Whether it's through therapy, exercise, mindfulness, or any hobbies, parents who take the time to manage their own stress and emotional well being can help the entire family by improving their mental health and communication. A child's healthy development depends on the parents or caregivers who acts in the role of parents and who serves their first source of support in becoming independent and leading a healthy, successful life. Being mentally healthy also makes it possible for you to set an example of positive behavior that your kids could follow. They gain these important skills for their own emotional health when they observe you using healthy coping methods, such as deep breathing, talking about feelings, or getting help from friends or family, and to deal with your life obstacles. This role modeling happens because kids tend to pick up a lot by observing, and they learn patience and self care from seeing you handle your own stress. Since children tend to mimic their parents' behavior, it's important that parents learn how to deal with disagreement, failures, challenging circumstances with patience. And when this isn't possible, parents should be honest about their mistakes so that children can learn from them. And children learn honesty and growth from their parents' honest acknowledgement from their own faults and failures. In addition, developing emotional intelligence, this kind of awareness helps children learn important lessons into addressing obstacles to help their resilience. Also, making your mental health a priority helps you make wiser decisions, and the mental health of a parent affects their ability to be patient and make wise decisions and engage with their kids in general, which creates a happier, more supported atmosphere. By taking care of your own mental health, parents provide a good example for their kids by practicing self care and resilience. This strengthens the family emotional foundation and improves growth, well being of their kids. A parent is more prepared to respond to difficult situations with compassion, patience, when they're able to think clearly and control their emotion. This helps reduce tension at home and help kids develop their problem solving abilities because they see positive and compassionate ways to problem solve. They will apply these lessons to the interaction with peers and friends and other relationship as they grow. Next slide.
Okay, thank you, Kimberly. So, in addition to taking care of yourself, we can also take care of our families together. Engaging in fun activities together can significantly improve relationships, reduce stress, and provide everyone with a well-deserved break. Examples that you can include are walks, eating together, talking together, and many more. We often hear that we should be spending time together to get a mental getaway. But today, I want to spend my time talking about exactly what we could be doing and the benefits of it. Next slide, please. So, first, I personally believe that eating together as a family is often overlooked nowadays. If you are a person who likes to hear about research, in 2012, and all of the data on the slides are from this research paper, Columbia University published a white paper where they found that teens having frequent family dinners are more likely to report having high quality relationships with their parents. They are almost 1.5 times likelier to say that they have an excellent relationship with their mother, and 1.5 times likelier to say that they have an excellent relationship with their father. To summarize the other data, teens who have high quality relationships with mom and dad are less likely to use drugs, drink or smoke, and to have less stress. Harvard University also adds to that list where they found benefits better academic performance, lower risk of depression, and a lower likelihood of developing eating disorders. Now, really quickly, before I move on, let's just take a quick moment to reflect on this. So the question I wanted to pose is, how do we often sit down and share a meal with our families? I want you guys to think about your own experiences and the impact it may have had on your relationship and well-being. So we'll take about 5 seconds to just sit and think. Okay, well, if you needed more time, you can pause the video if you're watching the recording. But if you guys are on live right now, then maybe you can jot the question down, and I'll repeat it one more time if you want to think about it. So how often do we actually sit down and share a meal with our families? Think about your own experiences and the impact it may have had on your relationships and well-being. For me personally, I often find that sometimes sitting down and thinking about the question posed really lets me look back at the past and think about what I've experienced. For me, sometimes writing down my experiences helped me look at what I received and what I should be grateful for. And for this one, I am so grateful that I've grown up with so much love. And that is probably because I'm an only child. But with this, my parents always encourage having to do these activities together, especially eating together, because my family and I are foodies. And I am really grateful for that. So, next slide, please. So before I go into the other activities, there are also downsides to finding activities to do. For example, there are many factors that can hinder a family from sharing a meal with each other. For example, time. Sometimes scheduling just doesn't work out, and it is so difficult to find time to sit at a table with your children and to have a meal and a conversation. To work around this, one major thing that needs to be understood is that not every meal or activity needs to be perfect. This could be 5 minutes or even 3 minutes, just sitting down, maybe not even sitting down, standing around the place, having tea, having a quick snack. All of this just to spend time together, to get away from your day to day life, but to grow together. The overarching goal is to spend quality time together, even if it's just for a short period. Okay, so now let's go into the activities. So, one activity, if you're active, is taking walks or hikes. Being outdoors and exercising together offers numerous physical and mental health benefits. Nature walks can be a great way to unwind and to have meaningful conversations. And on the topic of being active, creating a family exercise routine, whether it's yoga, Pilates, a fitness class, or a simple workout at home, can be a great way to stay healthy together. Exercise is known to boost mood and to reduce stress, making it a beneficial activity for everyone to get involved. Another activity that we actually were recently given the chance to do in our internship was painting, while also having conversations to get to know each other better. Working on creative projects together can foster collaboration and creativity. It's a fun way to express yourself and create lasting memories. Another activities is photos. Now, this one is very dear to me. And so capturing moments through photography and revisiting these memories can greatly impact mental health and family bonds. Looking at photos of happy times can trigger positive emotions, reduce stress, and foster a sense of belonging. Creating photo albums or digital slideshows, such as a family project, not only strengthens relationships, but also cultivates gratitude and appreciation for shared experiences. For example, my dad, he saves all of our photos on his computer. So sometimes we sit around his computer, spending time looking back on what we've experienced and looking back at photos and videos of me as a child. Practicing these moments encourages communication, deepens connections, and provides a visual diary of your family's journey, celebrating moments of joy, laughter, and love. If you're a person who wants quiet time, or you're just not in that mood to really use up your energy to do all these other activities, something that you can do as a family is reading together. Reading together can promote literacy and cognitive development. It's also a wonderful way to spend quiet, quality time together. And now, the expensive one, vacations. But I know it's expensive, but let me quickly explain. Everyone loves vacations, but a big problem is the money. To get around this, sometimes shorter local trips can just be as rewarding and easier to fit into busy schedules. My family and I are very religious, and my dad speaks often in church. So sometimes my dad is asked to speak in a city pretty far from us, and my parents and I see these opportunities to not only take a step back from our day to day lives, but to spend time together and get the chance to worship God, which is something that my family and I really value. If you're still stuck after hearing some of these activities that you could be doing, something that you can be doing is taking the time to find a commonality between you and your kids, which can be super helpful when finding activities to do. For example, I know these are a lot of examples, but I just wanted to make it clear. My family and I love music. So last night, my mom and I went to watch someone who I love, who is Lei Fei. And originally, my mom wasn't too much of a big fan because she thinks that sad songs will make her cry, but she still sacrificed her time to watch with me, and I really appreciated it. Not only did she end up falling in love with Lei Fei, but we also got to hear the LA Philharmonic Orchestra, and her and I really love music, like classical music and orchestra like that. So I felt like it was such a good getaway to connect better with my mom. But not only that, we were able to really sit down, enjoy our surroundings, and release our stress by listening to what we love together. So, in general, simple activities like these can be very beneficial for you and your family's mental health. They will allow us to develop better bonds and allow us to take mental breaks as a family. Ultimately, these are things that we should be practicing so that we can grow together as a family. Thank you.
I just wanted to add on to hello. Okay, good. I just want to add on to Braden's points of of just meeting with your family. Unfortunately, I do not have the time, or my family doesn't have the schedule to actually eat with each other. So what we do instead of that is we do host and hold family meetings. So this would be like after we'll take 20-30 minutes just to express how we feel, what we're doing, just to check on each other, just to be there for our support. And it's pretty hard to actually sometimes host these family meetings because one person might not be open to expressing what they feel, or be open to just discuss something because they're having a rough time or they're just really closed off. But um, that has been super beneficial in my personal life. And yeah, so I wanted to specifically talk about self-awareness. We all know that parenting isn't about perfection. It's about the progress that you guys make, and like the growth and understanding of not only yourself but your kids. Every parent strives to be the best that they can for their children, but like it's important to remember that both the parent and the kid are always evolving as humans. So like you want to acknowledge and understand that there's no perfect comprehensive manual or like a definitive guidebook that outlines the steps for perfect parenting, because every child is an individual with their own unique personality, their own like needs and characteristics, and every situation that arises is very distinct and might be effective or successful for one family, but could possibly be ineffective or even inappropriate for another family. The key thing to just grasp is that parenting is like an ongoing journey where you're constantly learning new things, adapting to the new circumstances, and just continuously like striving to improve that, like with you and your kid. Um, and it's important to just embrace this journey with like an open mind, because it's a never-ending process of growth and development. And it's just a continuous evolution and progression in your parenting. So, I wanted to talk about the importance of being aware of yourself. So, how you act in a given situation and how this awareness can have a profound impact on your future interactions. Um, it can not only with just your kids, but with other family members. Like when you take a crucial step back and really think about how you reacted in a given situation, it gives you the opportunity to ponder deeply whether or not the decision that you made was the right one, or if perhaps you could have handled the situation little differently, in which the outcome could be better and like a more effective manner. And I'm pretty certain that many of you have experienced these moments of self-reflection and doubt. It's precisely in these like moments where you guys can uncover the potential for improvement. Like every single mistake that we make or you guys make is actually a really valuable lesson in disguise. And every challenge that we face is an incredible chance to grow and develop. So it's really important to embrace these opportunities for self-improvement, because in the end, we're always like on the journey of becoming better versions of ourselves. So think about the last time you faced a difficult situation with your child. Maybe it was a tantrum or a disagreement, maybe even like a moment of defiance. In those moments, it's easy to reach out of frustration or impatience because our emotions are so high in that moment. But taking a step back, taking a deep breath, and approaching the situation with calmness and empathy can make all the more difference. It's not easy, but it's worth it. It could help. This could possibly like help you build a relationship with other family members, not just your kid. Like, for example, when your child is upset, giving them the space that they need can be incredibly powerful. As a teenager myself, I know how important it is to have that space to process my own emotions. I definitely need the time to just like listen to music or like get my mind off of it a little bit before I can talk about a situation with my parents. And it only works if both the child and the parent are choosing to progress that connection or relationship with one another. If you want to ask your child to open up to you, you need to respect their boundaries. And I mean, like, need to respect their boundaries. Because you can knock on their door and ask if you can come in, or if they say no, you want to honor that and talk to them from behind the door if they're comfortable, because it shows that you respect them and their feelings and are there for them when they're ready. And in emergencies, like when you need to talk to your child immediately, you want to 100% try to calm yourself down before approaching them, because this calmness can definitely help diffuse the situation and make it a lot easier for your child to hear you out. And just remember that your reactions have a really profound impact on how your children perceives you and how they feel about themselves. It's a thing that may go unnoticed, but it's important. It's really important to be aware of the actions that you take in response to the situations that you encounter. It's also very important to keep promises. Like if you tell your child that you're open to listening and won't get mad, you need to stick to that promise, because trust is built over time, and breaking that trust can be detrimental to a building relationship with them. Like this can eventually like help your child know that they can come to you without fear of judgment or anger. And another good tip is to be vulnerable. Like just being open and vulnerable with your children can significantly strengthen your relationship with them. Just like sharing your own feelings and experiences can show them that it's okay to have emotions, to make mistakes, and to learn from them. By being vulnerable, you can create a safe space for your children to be vulnerable too, and it's a powerful way to connect on a deeper level. However, remember that this doesn't happen overnight. Like building trust and openness takes a lot of time. Like you don't want to expect your child to be vulnerable right away, but you want to lead by an example, and very like gradually. They might feel comfortable enough to share their own feelings and experiences with you, which can build that connection with the kid. And we want to just like remind ourselves that life isn't always stressful. You want to show your children that you care about them, that you enjoy spending time with them, and that you appreciate them for who they are. And like a little builder that you can use within day-to-day life is like just celebrate the small moments, the little victories, and like the everyday wins that you encounter with your kid. Like, and by doing so you can teach your children to enjoy life and not just the destination where they have to go. And that's what I have for self-awareness.
Sorry, really quickly, I wanted to add on to your point. So, in adding on to Jason, I really feel that forgiveness goes hand in hand with self-awareness. So, once we start practicing self-awareness and understanding our mistakes, I believe it is very important for someone to apologize and for the other person to accept that apology, whether it be from parent to child or child to parent. And if one person doesn't know that the other person understood the mistake that they have caused, then it will really be hard for that other person to move on to that from that event. So I feel like practicing forgiveness, especially after you understand the mistake that you made, giving a simple apology and accepting that apology will go a long way.
So that is the end of our workshop. I just wanted to add again to emphasize the fact that we know parenting is not an easy task at all, but it is very rewarding. And at the end of the day, if you are putting in the effort to improve yourself for your child or children, that's what matters. And your child will see that you are doing your best, and they will appreciate that at the end of the day. It doesn't matter how your journey of self-improvement looks. What matters is that you're trying. So that is the end, and we are here for any questions that you may have.
Hi everyone. You guys did an amazing job. I'm not a parent, but if you saw me laughing through the presentation, I have two dogs, and so I was like applying the information to them the best that I could. But if I ever do have human children, it will be very, very beneficial. Although I can see my dog saying like, "Hey, you should get mad at me less." Um, so I have a couple of questions, and again, you guys did amazing. Like I feel like I learned so much. I wish I had this presentation when I was younger, dealing with my own parents, and I wish my own parents had this presentation. Um, I'm curious as since we did reflect a lot on our own personal experiences. Uh, I was a child that came from a home where my parents got divorced very, very young. And so I'm wondering if any of you in your research came across tactics to help children feel like they're still part of a family, even when their parents are not together.
So I do actually have a little insight on this. I do understand that what's it called? That sometimes your built-in family won't be the supportive that as supportive as you might find other people. Like sometimes found family is actually a lot um super beneficial to like someone to build connections with people. Like I understand that these kids that do have divorced parents really want to feel a part of their own family, but it's super difficult, especially with divorced parents and everything like that. You can still build relationships with the parents separately, but if they do not choose to interact with each other or anything along the lines of that, it's you can't really do much about that except be you and try to find that somewhere else where it can be healthy for the kid. So that's what I have on that.
Yeah, adding on to Jason, although I've never had like firsthand experience with it, I know it is very difficult. I've had many friends who have gone through that, and it's always difficult on them. And in light with what Jason was saying, finding other people that you can create a sort of family relationship with, like, can be really beneficial. So for example, I think in this internship, I feel like although we were not like blood related family, I feel like we were able to get to know each other really well. We were able to make great connections. Even with the painting that I was talking about earlier, we were able to get to know each other on not only like uh our interests, but to get to know each other on a deep scale and to really talk about our experiences and share what we face. So I think that finding others who you think that could be who could serve as a familial role in your life would be very beneficial.
Um, I do have firsthand experience. My parents are divorced, and it was hard initially to find the balance between both because it's like basically two separate families, especially since they don't get along that well. But what helped me the most is communicating, not with both of them together, but separately, and establishing a relationship between both of them to make sure that, like, hey, I know I might not see you as much as the other, but I'm still here. You know, you're my parent, and doesn't matter the circumstance. It's That's never going to change. So I think just really communicating and also finding other people to support you, whether that be friends or anyone you could trust, what is very beneficial to like finding your ground and just overall learning to be comfortable with the fact that they're separated. Michael,
Thank
you
you.
have a question?
Thank you so much, guys.
Yes, hi. As I put in the chat, really important information. Thank you. You guys all go to school, right? I know it's a dumb question, but I'm just making sure. Like, do you guys go to like public or private schools? It doesn't matter, but
I
yeah,
yes, I am
okay.
currently going to Cal State Long Beach. I don't know about Braden, Dominic, or Kimberly if you want to give your just
I
quick.
guess it's really not important. The reason why I'm asking is, do you feel like all the stuff that you're learning with Connect to Lead, do you feel like you learned it at all, or what percentage during your K through 12 experience?
So your question is if we learned like this kind of stuff in school?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so me personally, no. I had to, from my counselor, I did actually. I learned a lot about self-awareness and really how to communicate. But mental health and the things I've learned here, no, not at all. I had to venture out to get resources for mental health because it just wasn't talked about or given to me at all.
Right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I
I've
100%.
actually, oh, sorry. Oh, I've actually learned about it in my senior year. I took a mental health class. That's how I got into this program.
Nice.
And so my teacher, she kind of talked about it, but now I'm in college, so I learned more about it in psychology, communication
Mhm.
class of like how to communicate with your family and how to communicate with friends. And then in psychology is how some families work, how does relationship work, like all different type of stuff, whether it's like reason why relationship doesn't work out because you're different love languages and how people get over talk to their family members if they need
Mhm.
help. So I learned more about it in college than in high school.
Dope.
Yeah, so for me, I took a psychology class during like my freshman year. So I did
Okay.
learn a little bit about mental health, and my school often talks about mental health, but we don't have like a
Nice.
huge importance on it, which is something that needs to change in the future. But
Right.
in terms of like really applying what we learned, like in terms of mental health, I feel like this internship, like with Connected to Lead, has been so tremendous for me because I feel so we held a youth summit a few weeks ago where we talked about different things about mental health and how it affects children, so or teens. I focused mine on the movie Inside Out 2, if you guys are familiar with that. So I
Mhm.
feel like this internship really brought out ideas that I would have never been able to find when I was in school. And being able to apply that and share it with others was really something that I was really grateful for. So, yeah.
I love it. What would it mean? I'll be really short. I'm sorry. I know there's other questions, but it seems kind of dumb that we don't do that, right? In K through 12. 'Cause that's what I teach at Long Beach Poly High School. So that's what I teach. I teach the stuff that you're presenting, and it was beautifully done. So anyway, that's our mission too. Go Jackrabbits.
When I was a tutor at Millikan High School, they did offer psychology courses
Yeah,
as electives, right? But it's
yeah,
definitely not required.
no.
And just hearing some of this, I was a very resistant child, and it would have been great to learn that, hey, you can have a good relationship with your parents.
Hmm. Right? So that's the goal. I appreciate you guys. You did a great job. So I'm going to get out of the way for the other questions. Thank you for that. That really helps me in my work. I appreciate it.
Thank you for that. And to answer a question in the chat, any tips for parents of multiple children as it relates to providing individual attention and shared attention between siblings? So I have a lot of siblings. I have four, I think, all sisters. And um I think providing attention is kind of hard, especially if like all these loud personalities are just all in one house. I understand not being able to dedicate as much time to one child as there is to another because work and just anything else. But if you, I find it better to spend one-on-one time with a parent, especially with multiple siblings, than us in a whole group. So I think focusing more on individual attention would be more beneficial. It depends on the child, really, actually. So you could just talk, you could go out, but just make sure it's whatever you're doing with one child, you do with the rest so that nobody feels left out. If you go somewhere I don't know, special to like the child, like they choose where to go, then that's different. But just make sure that you provide that opportunity for all the children. Did anybody else want to answer that question, or should we move on?
I have three siblings. I live with one, and I have another half sibling like 3 hours away. So when my mom and my dad we do go visit her, so there end up being four kids in the car. So what my mom tries to do is like manage her time. Like let's say we go to Walmart and my sister wants to show her something, so she will take time to like go look and talk about something, whether it's for school. Then she talks to her brother and they talk about school or they talk about whatever they talk about. And then from my sister here, my mom always tries to do like one day will be just for her, one day for me, or like 1 hour, or 1 hour for her, 1 hour for me. She tries to manage her time to take me and my sister like either together as a group or individually, because she wants to make sure that she's giving us attention and not just one more attention than the other. So she tries to manage her time so we won't feel left out. So sometimes we do family game nights or like family movie nights. So that helps us like bond as a family. So then other days she'll do like, okay, she's gonna take my sister somewhere, then she'll take me somewhere after, or it'll be another day. So that really helps when bonding with like my mom individually. So I think it's important for some time to like just individually bond with like your child, or like so they could get that bonding time.
Not sure who raised their hand first, so I'll just say in the order I see it. So Jessica, go ahead, please.
Perfect. Hi everybody. Great presentation, by the way. I learned so much. So my question is, well, first of all, I'm not a parent. I'm like Alex. I have two dogs. Hopefully in the future I'll be a mom. But my question is around some of the students that I encounter through my programs that I facilitate in various cities. And so my question is around, what are some tips you can provide to high school students or even college students around helping parents with their own mental health when communication is short? So I encounter a lot of high school students where maybe culture plays a role in parenting styles. And I'm finding a lot of high school students um, don't have an opportunity to have healthy conversations with their parents, and they're recognizing the red flags. And when they do bring it up to their parents, the parents have a short conversation with them, like, I'm okay, it's okay. And so I guess I want to find maybe some helpful tips to share back with them to encourage more healthier conversations or healthier sharing.
So,
S-
oh, you want
Do
to
you
go?
want to go? I'll go first. So I have personal experience this with my dad. Personally, I've always been, I've always noticed that there's something going on, and he just would not talk about it like at all, and it would affect the family. It would affect the whole, symphony, like the whole thing of the family, right? And one way it took a long time, like years, to finally get just a simple answer to finally actually really talk to my dad. But what helped was just getting a closer relationship with him, like just doing activities with my dad to build a bond. And eventually, I really didn't expect him to open up in these moments, but for me, when I actually did build like a bond with my dad, and we would like go fishing or do any of the sorts, while we're doing that activity, I would open up about something, and this eventually kind of had him talk about his own personal experiences to give me advice, and then I would notice that something wasn't really the most healthy things that he said that he's gone through, and I'll just ask him about that, and then that's when either there's one of two things that can happen. One is that he'll just become very defensive and just like don't know what you're talking about. Like it's not like it's just that's how it's always been. I'm I'm okay. Or sometimes just recognizing that like, well, this isn't how not it's how it's supposed to be, but this isn't the healthiest way that it could have been dealt with. And it took him a long time to actually recognize that he does have some issues and stuff that he's going through, but it's a super long process and it won't happen like right away, which is unfortunate because if a kid is trying to connect with their parent, like and build on top of their mental health, that block from their parent not being willing to grow can severely affect the kid because they're not able to grow because they need their parents' support and they need to also give the support back to their parent. But if it's not reciprocating, then it's super difficult. But just building a relationship with the parent first would be um, the first step to just saying, "Hey, I've noticed something's like wrong," because if there's not a strong bond between the kid and the parent, it's just a wall. It's closed off. So that would be like the first thing I would do, or I would say to like a someone who's trying to provide support for their parent if they notice something's wrong. Yeah, Dom.
So I have similar experiences with both my parents, with them just refusing to talk about anything mental health related. I think it is very much culture centered. It depends on like how they were raised and just how they were brought up. Both of my parents are Hispanic, so it's very hard to talk to them. But I've noticed that what's helped me the most with getting through to them is being persistent. I know a lot of people who get a no and immediately they just stop trying. So being persistent to the point where you're almost annoying them gets them to just like it just gets them to open up to the point where they just like with all the pressure. This sounds bad, but with um them just you keep asking and bringing it up and just because you want to know that you're there for them and that you support them whatever they're going through, it I guess it just eases them a little bit and makes them comfortable enough to be like, okay, if you care this much to be asking me over and over again, then I'll just tell you. So I think that's my tip, just stay persistent, and if it really doesn't work, then I unfortunately I don't think there's much that you can change with your parents. It's just will always be an obstacle like that. Like I said earlier, it can put a strain on relationships, and sometimes that's what happens, unfortunately, in the end. But if if you know that you're doing the best that you can to to put in that effort, then it's on the parents to also put in the effort on their side too.
Yeah, adding on to that, I feel like, sorry, I'll be pretty quick, but sometimes I think like being overly persistent might not be the best way because a lot of people tend to shut themselves out. But then again, there are also people who really love that comfort that you can offer by being persistent, but especially with the stigmas of like mental health and being an Asian, my dad doesn't like isn't really too into that kind of stuff. So a lot it's really hard depending on your family background to like have these conversations. And sometimes one thing that you could do is, as Dom said earlier, sometimes it might be good to just leave it because there is not much that we can do. Because at that point, as an adult, it is also really hard to go through that cognitive change within your brain because your brain has already matured, it's developed. Making changes in habits can take a very long time to fix. So sometimes, um, just acknowledging that it's there, but also not trying to overdo it, I guess you could say, might be helpful as well. But there are always options that a family can work through. And the best thing, of course, in an ideal world is communication, but it doesn't always happen. So, yeah.
Uh, Diana, I think. I'm sorry, I haven't.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So thanks for all the great strategies and information. It was really helpful. So as a parent with two girls that are headed into their teenage years, I really liked about how you guys talked about respecting boundaries. That's kind of a new thing, right? As our children get older, they start to establish new boundaries and change and grow. So my question is, what advice would you give to families that are looking to maybe they've already incorporated or they're looking to incorporate mental health practices, or maybe just have a more positive encouragement towards them into their daily routines without it feeling like a chore for their youth?
I would say the best thing that family could do, especially during a time where your kids are gonna start reacting like crazy, because I did that too, is spending time with each other. Like for me, like spending time with my family, especially because I was transitioning from a child to a teenager when during COVID. So a lot of that time was me with my parents, and I really wanted that social life. So then they let me go off to school, hybrid from online. So they let me loose. But prior to that time, they really did take the time to spend time with me every day. We would take walks, we would cook with each other, we would talk with each other, we would basically do a lot of things together. And I think that's been able to build up it's like over time it's helped me build up a relationship with them where I definitely feel like I could trust them. I could share the things that I want to share, especially when they're really important. And so spending time with each other, like doing activities that you guys always love to do, I think it will be really beneficial in the long run. So yeah.
I think in order for it to not feel like a chore for the youth, it doesn't always have to be labeled as a specific thing, because sometimes labeling it as like mental health growth or this way can actually deter people from it. But even though they do take part in the actions, they are doing mental health growth and stuff like that. But once they label it, they're like, oh, I don't mess with that. Like yada yada yada. But one thing to make it not seem like a chore is just be like, hey, what is something that you want to do? And if it's something that they enjoy, you can make the effort to actually either do that with them or like set them up to actually like be successful or accomplish something that they want to do. It just has to be any fun activity, any activity that they feel personal with. And that in themselves is already taking care of themselves. Like they're already like focusing on their mental health. And then after that, there's so much more steps that can be taken, like after that initial activity done. Like you can start incorporating practices like, hey, like I want to do this with you, let's go do this, and just build more of a connection with the youth. And yeah, and then you can also like share tips and stuff like that with them. That's stuff that you do to keep yourself healthy, mentally, physically, holistically.
Yeah, I was also gonna say that. I think if your child sees you doing it too, that would push them more to want to engage in that activity, whatever it may be. I think honestly, it depends on the child. Again, it's all about their preference. I mean, you could provide a journal and just say, "Oh, here, if you ever want to write your feelings down or whatever." Maybe not that, but just provide materials and things they need. I know I personally don't like journaling, so it really just anything that they would like, you think, or you could just ask. And if they, like I said, if they see you doing it, then like we talked about earlier, parents mimic their, I mean, sorry, children mimic their parents' behavior very often. So seeing that and seeing that it's a good thing and that it's healthy would probably push them more to say, oh, maybe it's not so bad. Because I know, especially when kids are becoming teenagers, they're really standoffish to mental health because it's like, I don't know, it's a sensitive topic. But as your child ages, it'll get better. Just be sure to always support and provide anything that they may be interested in when in regards to mental health practices. Are there any other questions?
I just want to leave off with something as well. You guys talked a lot about forming your own family, and I believe an important piece of this conversation could also be included, and that's the role of grandparents. As a child, both my parents worked pretty much 24/7, and I was primarily raised by my grandparents. And they're a great source for all this stuff you guys talked about. And so I just want to leave it at that. Thank you again for a really great presentation.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
So that is the end of our workshop. If anybody has any questions, feel free to email any of us. And before you go, there is a evaluation that we would very much like you to fill out. So please take the time to do so. And thank you again for coming.
Thank you, everyone. And Jason just put the emails in the chat just in case you guys have any questions.
And when you complete the evaluation, then feel free to jump off. And thanks again for coming.